Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome to this video. This is John from xemacscode, and this is part 2 of our video tutorial series for to do app or to do effects using JavaFx, of course. And again, this is part 2, and this is the end goal of our video tutorial series. So we can add more tasks or we can delete tasks if we want. So for example, we will add another one here by X. You can press on the enter button and the task should be added in our UI, and we're using .txt file for our database, so all the tasks here, the status and the ID are saved within the txt file. So we will learn about that in this particular video tutorial. So it's going to be a perhaps a bit long or video tutorial, but you will learn a lot from this as we will tackle a lot of fundamentals and basic concepts on how we can create our own to-do app or to-do effects app. So in here we can see the status of the tasks. So we can also click on the delete icon if we want to delete the task or a particular task. And perhaps you can add feature to this later on, but we can click on this, okay, and then of course the UI should be updated automatically. So again, this is part 2. If you want to follow along with this tutorial, you can watch the part 1, but I have prepared the base code from part 1. You can download the entire project here. I'll be adding the link in the description box below if you want to follow along this video tutorial. Now, without further ado, let's dive in and let's open up our project. Again, I am assuming you have downloaded or you have followed the first part of our video tutorial series, or again, if you can download this, then you will have the base code from part 1 of our video tutorial series so that you can follow along with this video tutorial. Now, most of our code will go inside our to-do controller right here. So we also have the base layout of our to-do app. So from part 1, we have added the elements, and I have just updated some of the concepts or some of the elements, added few icons and colors, and arrange the UI elements to make it look like a real to-do app. Now let's start, and we will start with the initialize method right here. Now we will add here the generator. We will declare the variables here on top. So we will add a file, so private file task.db. Again, this will hold the task file, okay, and then we will also add a generator or random string generator later on, but for now let's make let's add another variable, private int, and then the counter task, then counter equals to 0, and then private int on task counter. So these are just the variable that will hold the value for our UI status here. So if it's 0/4 or 0/5, something like that. So task done counter and all task counter. So now that we have that, we can import the file here. Okay, so java.io file, and then under the initialize, we're gonna add a new method. So we're gonna open the file, so open or create the file. So this will serve as the database of our application. Okay, so we can create method open or create file. because currently it doesn't exist, of course. And then we can remove this, and of course we can add the implementation of the open or create method within our project. So that would be task db equals new file, and then of course the path of our file. So we can change this into path, and then we can add a try catch statement here. So if, and then task db that exists, of course it's going to check if the file does exist or not created as of the moment. So try, of course this is not else, this is catch, and then IO exception ex, and then LBL status. I believe we have the status label, so that's the label on the bottom part of the UI. So that's LBL status right here. Okay, so it will try to display the status of any activity that we are doing within our app. So file not created, something. So if something goes wrong with the statement within our try statements. Okay, exceptions, and then we can say here if of course that particular file doesn't exist, then we can create that file, create new file, and then we can display file created. Okay, file created, and of course we can set the label for, or I mean the text for our labels as status. So set text app ready, something, because if we created the file, then the app should be ready to accept information, right? Ready to accept tasks that need to be accomplished. Within our initialize method, we will add a try catch here. This is basically will enable us to read the task within our txt file. So we can also add here an exception or try catch statement, exception, and then ex, and then we can say something went wrong. Okay, in here we can create a new instance of the buffered reader. So instead of this, we can say try, and then buffered reader equals new buffered reader. Let's move this right here. Buffered reader. If you have questions, please let me know in the comment section below. We'll try to answer that, especially if it's related to this particular video tutorial. So buffered reader, new file reader, and then of course the name of our file. We're going to import the buffered reader and the file reader. So if that statements return okay, meaning we can already read the db.txt file, and then we can iterate through the file. So line equals reader dot read line, and then not equal to null, meaning if we have lines within the file, then we can get the contents, So contents equals line dot trim. Okay, and then split. We're gonna split the string by using the number sign, because the structure of our db.txt is something like this: random ID, and then the separator, which is the number sign, and of course the title of the task, and then of course the status, if it is open or close, something like that. So that's why we need to split the line, okay, by using this character number sign. Okay, so if the contents length is equal to 3, meaning we are good, or we have the right line, because it should return the first element, the second element, and the third element. So it should the contents array should contain 3 elements. Okay, and then in here we can say contents, and then it will be contents number 2, or contents index number 2. So if contents 2 that equals, ignore case, close, so meaning if that particular task is already done, then we can increment our task done counter right here. So task underscore done counter plus plus, and of course we can also increment the all task counter. Okay, so it should display the total task within the db.txt, and this one will display the tasks that are done, or that are close, having the status of close. And we can right after the while statement, we can display lbl counter that set txt or text into the task down counter plus, and then / plus the all task counter. Okay, so I hope it's clear to you guys what we're doing here. We're just setting the value of our counter UI, as you can see here in these within the circle shape. So we're just setting the value. Okay, so lbl status that set text, and then we can say ready. Okay, so currently if we try to run this, let's try to run this, we're gonna have to add a lot of methods and functions, methods in this controller file, because currently if we try to run the file, it returns the task currently, right? But the UI is not updated with what is currently inside the db.txt. So that's why we need to update our controller class to include all the methods. So I think the first thing that we're going to do here is to add the functionality to add our task right here. So we're gonna add a new method again. So add task, and then it should contain the ID, or it should pass in the ID, the content, the status, and the mode for our adding of tasks, because the way this one works, it has 2 modes. Okay, 2 modes. One if it's a new task, 0 if it's from file. So private void add task, okay, and then it should get the ID, the content, the status, and of course the mode of our adding of tasks. Again, there are two modes. If mode equals 1 equals new task, so it should be added to UI. Else, we're gonna have to also add the task from the file. Add to UI. Okay, that's why we're having this mode. Okay, because we're gonna reuse this method earlier. I mean later. There are two modes because we're going to add the task to the UI if one scenario is if we are adding a new task. Another scenario is if we are adding the task coming from the file. So that's why we're having modes here, 1 and 0. 1 being the new task added to the UI and 0 from the file. So if it is 1, then what we can do is say string content or task equals content. Okay, and then task equals txt task.get text. Okay, and then toString. Okay, and then task content, this is the actual content that we're going to save within our txt file. So task content equals ID. So for now, let's just generate some random characters for that, and then the separator, the number sign plus the the task itself, the title of the task, and then the separator again plus the status. So of course this is a new task, so meaning the status of this task is open. Okay, so the task content, we're going to declare that in here, string task content equals empty string for now, and then we're going to set the value of our text box or text field to empty. So in here we're going to check if the length of the title of the task is greater than 40, because we don't want to have a very long title for our task because it's going to mess up with our UI. So we're going to limit that within the 40 characters. So we can say here LBL status is title should be less than 40 characters. Otherwise, we can create entry into our file. Okay, and then we can specify here the content, task content, and then LBL status as set text task added. Okay, so we're going to create this method. It should be private void create entry and then string content, and of course the create entry method is going to create a new entry into our txt file. So if we're going to check first if taskdb is not equal to null, because of course if it is null, then we can create a new entry and we can open the file. So we're going to add another catch or try catch statement right here, and then in here we can say if try opening the file, so writing the file, buffered writer equals new buffered writer plus new file writer. Okay, and then of course the task db, and we're gonna say append is equal to true, because we don't want to overwrite the contents of our file. We just want to append a new content into our db.txt. Okay, so import file writer, try buffered writer. Okay, and then in here we can say write the content, and then writer that new line. So the purpose of this is just to add a new line after each entry. So in here, in our to-do.fxml file, we have here the method for our button, add task. So it should call the method add task right here, and then its mode is mode 1. So we're going to get the content from our text field and then add the entry into our txt file. And then we can clean and build our application and then run our project. Okay, so for now, let's try sample task, and then click on the button. Okay, so it says here that the task is added, but let's check the db.txt. So we have here sample task, and it's separated with the number sign. So as you can see here, we have already added a new entry into our db.txt, but the UI is not present here in our interface. I mean, the item is not present here in our user interface. So that's our next task, add the item or the task item within our user interface. So we can do that within our add task method.